Hi, I can give you some help on the plants that you've bought and how to arrange them in your border.
Right, so you've been out, you've trawled around, now you're back at home and wondering how to lay out those plants you've bought so that they actually look good. Maybe I can help with that.
What I've noticed is this is something that many people don't know how to start with and that they can find overwhelming. So I will share with you my preferred method for arranging plants. There are many ways that you can arrange your plants. For example, drifts. This is exemplified in Pete Adolph's The Salvia River, which he did in an early garden of his in Sweden, and then actually did it again for the Lurie Garden in Chicago, where it's received a much wider audience and it's now kind of world famous. Or you can arrange them symmetrically, for example. Now that might sound weird. In certain types of garden, like formal gardens, or in this case Islamic gardens, it actually can look really good. This is the Aga Khan Centre near King's Cross in London. So these arrangements do have a time and a place. However, I find the best way to arrange plants in like a standard border or bed is to use Professor Nigel Dunnet's centres of gravity planting method. So Nigel Dunnet observed that a commonly found pattern in nature is a clusters with outliers arrangement. So you can see that here with this cluster of stars. So you have the big cluster and then you can see various satellites just slightly outside of the main group. As you can imagine, this pattern is often observed in plant communities that have developed organically, like with no intervention from man. You know, this case of a cluster alongside a few satellites.
As per Charles Darwin and his survival of the fittest theory, plants, like all organisms, adapt to their environments and can become highly specialised. Therefore, we are not seeing binary distributions of plants in the wild, but often more of a petering out effect that reflect different moisture retention levels in the soil across a wider area and so on.
So what does that mean for us? This is how I have tended to arrange plants ever since I read Nigel Dunnet's book, Naturalistic Planting Design. I read that in 2019, so I'm about 4 years in of planting in this way, and I have to say it works really well. The main reason why is that the outcome looks really natural, and of course it does, because actually we're just mimicking nature. I will very often plant a group of 3 or 4 or 5, and then I will just put 1 or 2 satellite, like outlier plants in the vicinity of the main group. That's how I do it. Although conceived wisdom is to plant in groups of odd numbers, like 3 and 5 or 7 is what we're commonly told. Actually, I quite often buy in 4s and 8s these days, because you can do a cluster of 3 and then you can do 1 satellite. So you could do a cluster of 6 and then 2 satellites. It doesn't actually matter whether you have even numbers or odd numbers when you're planting using this method. I'm not saying that this is the best way to plant, just that this is what works well for me. So I would encourage you to try it out. See if you like the effect. Thanks to Professor Nigel Dunnet for doing all the legwork on the science behind it. If you don't know Nigel Dunnet's work, it's definitely worth checking out. He's a master of using science to get a really artistic look, and I think that's pretty special. If you're finding these videos useful, then it's worth subscribing. I will keep them coming, and I will see you in the next video. Sonia at Plant Your Pitch Up, over and out.